Hello everyone, this is Glad Funda and welcome to another video of GK section. So, in the first video, we analyzed the new pattern of CLAD 2020 introduced by CLAD Consortium. We also discussed whether you have to focus only on current affairs section or static GK is still relevant for you. What should be your strategy to ace this exam and how you can obtain a good score in this section. In second video, we discussed some important legal news and also solved some practice question paper. This is the third video and we have tried to cover some important GK updates from sports section, government programs, international news, and at the end of this session we have also come up with some multiple choice questions based on it. So let's start our video. TULIP Internship Program. Recently, the Ministry of Human Resource Development, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and All India Council for Technical Education, that is AICTE, have jointly launched an online portal called TULIP. TULIP. TULIP has been conceived pursuant to the Budget 2020 to 21 announcement under the theme Aspirational India. It laid emphasis on changing the approach of education from doing by learning to learning by doing. What it is? So, TULIP is an acronym for the Urban Learning Internship Program. It aims to provide internship opportunities to thousands of fresh graduates and engineers of the country under the Smart City project. Here, fresh graduates who have degree of this B Planning, B Arch, BA, BAC, BCom, LLB, and of course, engineers of the country are eligible to apply for this internship. Next thing is objective. So, TULIP interns would get exposure in a large number of areas like urban planning, urban design, different branches of engineering, information and technology, mobility, finance, social sector issues, and environmental issues. The program will provide them with insight into policy formulation and implementation. They will also interact with officials or and members of the civil society on a day-to-day basis. So definitely they will be oriented towards best practices, knowledge sharing and project implementation on ground. The interns will carry with them a rich experience in urban governance, which will help them in their future endeavors. Next thing is benefits. So it aims to provide short-term exposure to fresh graduates so that their professional development can be enhanced through experiential learning with ULBs and smart cities. It will also focus on harnessing fresh energy and ideas towards ULBs and smart cities endeavors to solve critical challenges. So, what are the eligibility conditions? It is open only to Indian citizens and not more than 18 months should have been passed from the date of declaration of final year results to the date from which the internship is sought. In other words, there must be the gap of 18 months. Duration and extension of engagement. The duration of the internship will be minimum of 8 weeks up to 1 year. We have to keep in mind that presently Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank is HRD Minister and Hardeep Singh Puri is the Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs. Next news is about nominations for Khel Ratna. So first we will see who have been nominated. Hockey India has nominated National Women's Team Captain Rani Rampal for the prestigious Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award, while Vandana Kataria, Monica, and Harmanpreet Singh were recommended for the Arjuna Award. For the Major Dhyan Chand Award for Lifetime Achievement, The federation has recommended former Indian stalwarts RP Singh and Tushar Khandekar, while coaches Bijay Karyappa and Ramesh Padhania have been nominated for the Dronacharya Award. And the period of consideration for the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award, which is also the India's highest sporting honor. This news is very important. Is between Jan 1, 2016 to December 31st, 2019. So it almost covers 3 years. Next, we will see why they have been nominated. Uh, First, we will see the achievements of Rani Rampal. So, during this period, that is January 1, 2016 to December 31st, 2019, Rani led the team to historic victories in the Women's Asia Cup in 2017, silver at the 2018 Asian Games, and she played a critical role in the FIH Olympics qualifiers in 2019 by scoring the deciding goal that helped India to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics. The team also climbed to a career best ninth in the FIH World Rankings. She is the first Indian to be named as the World Games Athlete of the Year. She has also been the recipient of the Arjuna Award in the year 2016 and Padma Shri 2020. Now we will talk about Indian striker Vandana. Indian striker Vandana, with over 200 international caps, and Monica, with 150 national appearances, have been recommended for the Arjuna Award. They both played key roles in the team's sensational wins in 2019, including the FIS series finals played in Hiroshima, Tokyo 2020 Olympics test event at the Olympic qualifiers in Bhubaneswar. The Indian men's team drag flick specialist Harmanpreet Singh is also in the short list for the Arjuna nominees. He was instrumental in the team's winning performance in the this FIS series finals in Odisha. At the 2020 Olympic test event, he captained the team to victory in the absence of Manpreet Singh, who was rested for the tournament. Apart from that, he was also a part of the Indian team that won the Olympic qualifiers against Russia last year. Former Indian stars Dr. R.P. Singh and Khandekar's continued contribution in the field of hockey has led to their recommendation for the Major Dhyan Chand Award for Lifetime Achievement. So we have to keep in mind that uh, they have received this award, that is Major Dhyan Chand Award for Lifetime Achievement. Karyappa, who has been nominated for the Dronacharya Award, he has coached the Indian junior men's team to a silver at the Sultan of Johor Cup in 2019. So, speaking on the recommendations for the national awards, Hockey India president Muhammad Mustaq Ahmad said Sardar Singh was the last hockey player to win this Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award. So, panels formed by the sports ministry will shortlist the nominations received from various national federations, with the awards to be presented on National Sports Day, August 29. Now we will see what is the Essential Commodities Act and how will amending it help. Firstly, we have to understand when government declare a commodity as an essential one, what is its impact or implication. So by declaring a commodity as essential one, the government can control the production, supply and distribution of that commodity, and government can also impose a stock limit. So what is the definition of an essential commodity? There is no specific definition of essential commodities in the EC Act, but Section 2A of the Act prescribes that an essential commodity means a commodity as specified in the schedule of this Act. The Act gives power to the central government to add or to remove a commodity from the schedule. So this power has been given to the central government to add or to remove any commodity from the schedule. The center, if it is satisfied that it is necessary to do so in a public interest, they, then only it can notify an item as essential. But central government has to consult with state governments. So government can only do such things if it is in public interest. At present, the schedule contains 9 commodities, and these are drugs, fertilizers, whether inorganic, organic, or mixed, foodstuffs, including edible oils, hang yarn made wholly from cotton, petroleum and petroleum products, raw jute and jute textiles, seed of food crops, and seeds of fruits and vegetables, seeds of cattle fodder, jute seed, cotton seed, face masks, and hand sanitizers. So, the latest items added to this schedule are face masks and hand sanitizers. And these were declared essential commodities with effect from March 13, 2020 in the wake of COVID-19 outbreak. So, by declaring a commodity as essential, the government can control the production, supply, and distribution of that commodity and impose a stock limit. How and under what circumstances can the government impose stock limits? Under the amended EC Act, agri foodstuffs can only be regulated under extraordinary circumstances such as war, famine, extraordinary price rise, and natural calamity. However, any action on imposing stock limit will be based on the price trigger. Thus, in case of horticultural produce, uh, 100% increase in the retail price of the commodity over the immediately preceding 12 months or the average retail price of the last 5 years, whichever is lower, will be the trigger for invoking the stock limit for such commodities. For non-perishable agricultural foodstuffs, the price trigger will be a 50% increase in the retail price of the commodity over the immediately preceding 12 months or the average retail price of the last 5 years, whichever is lower. However, uh, exemptions from stock holding limits will be provided to processors and value chain participants of any agricultural produce and orders relating to the public distribution system, officials said. The EC Act was legislated at a time when the country was facing a scarcity of foodstuffs due to this persistent abysmal level of food grain production. The country was at that time it was dependent on imports and assistance such as wheat import from US under PL 480 to feed the population. So, in this scenario, to stop the hoarding and black marketing of foodstuffs, the Essential Commodities Act was enacted in the year 1955. So, this is the historical background of this particular act. But now the situation has changed. So, a note prepared by the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution shows that production of wheat has increased by 10 times from less than 10 million tons in 1955 to 56 to more than 100 million tons in 2018 to 19. During the same period, if you see the production of rice, it has also been increased more than 4 times from around 25 million tons to 110 million tons. The production of pulses has increased by 2.5 times from 10 million tons to 25 million tons. In fact, India has now become an exporter of several agricultural products. With these developments, the EC Act has become anachronistic. Kashmir saffron gets geographical indication or GI tag. Students, you must have heard about Mathura's Peda, Agra's Petha, Darjeeling tea, black rice of Manipur, Banarsi, and Kanjivaram sari. They are very famous in India by their names only, and every shopkeeper wants to sell their products with these names. This is called a geographical indication or GI tag. So, geographical indication or GI tag is a name or mark given to products, agriculture, natural and manufactured products, sweets, handicrafts, and industrial goods of a particular region. It may be country or a state or a town. So, this tag is given to only those products that are special in quality and unique in features. Unique quality and unique features must be there to get GI tag. So this fact is very important. Once this tag is given, no one is allowed to use this name other than the reason to which this tag is given. This tag is issued as per the Geographical Indication of Goods Registration and Protection Act 1999. So this is governed under this particular act. This tag is given by the Geographical Indication Registry under the Department of Industry, Promotion and Internal Trade, Ministry of Commerce and Industries. So, the Geographical Indication Registry has given this GI tag to Kashmiri saffron on the application of the Directorate of Agriculture, Government of Jammu and Kashmir. So, why Kashmir applied for GI tag? Actually, the largest saffron producing country in the world is Iran, which cultivates more than 300 tons of saffron on 30,000 hectares of land every year. Apart from this, Spain and Afghanistan sell saffron of poor quality at a low price, due to which the price of Kashmiri saffron has fallen by almost 50%. Kashmiri saffron is different from saffron in other countries because it is superior in quality due to its high aroma, dark color, long and thick thread. Also, it has high medicinal value. But but due to the low quality saffron of Iran and other countries, Kashmiri saffron producers are suffering a lot of losses. Therefore, Kashmiri saffron farmers want their saffron to be distinguished in the world so that they can get a good price for quality saffron. In other words, we can summarize it as the Kashmiri saffron will have an unique identity in the market, which was possible only after getting this unique tag, that is GI recognition. Now we will see benefit of GI tag for Kashmiri saffron. After getting the GI tag, the producers of Kashmiri saffron can differentiate with their saffron from the low quality saffron of Iran and other countries. So Kashmiri saffron producers can charge a bit higher price to cover the loss. Now it would be beneficial for them. After the GI tag, the customer will also not hesitate to pay higher prices for the good quality Kashmiri saffron. Hence, GI tag will not only increase their of the uh, benefits of the producers, but also it will open the door in the international market. We should also know that try to understand where this Kashmiri saffron produced. The Kashmiri saffron is grown at an average height of 1600 meter to 1800 meter above sea level, and it is mainly produced in Pulwama, Badgam, Kishtwar and Srinagar. So, hopefully, after reading this news, you must have understood what is this GI tag and how the saffron producers in Kashmir will get benefit from this GI tag recognition. India announces its priorities for UNSC. India is expected to be elected as a member of United Nations Security Council for an eighth term. So, in order to secure the elected seat, India has launched a brochure that lists the priorities of India at the UNSC. The brochure was released by the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. The brochure has set out five key priorities. They are new opportunities for progress, reforming the multilateral system, effective response to international terrorism, comprehensive approach to international peace, and last one is promoting technology with human touch. India also emphasized that during this tenure, India will work towards achieving NORMS norms, new orientation for a reformed multilateral system. Next thing is approach of India. So India's approach at the United Nations Security Council is to be guided by the 5S principle. It was set out by PM Modi. They include Samvad, that is dialogue, Samman, that is respect, Santi, that is peace, Samriddhi, that is prosperity, and Sahyog, that is cooperation. India to host 2022 AFC Women's Asian Cup. The Asian Football Confederation has awarded the hosting rights of the 2022 Women's Asian Cup to India for the first time since 1979. This decision was taken at the AFC Women's Football Committee meeting, and in February, the AFC Women's Football Committee had recommended India to be host. The tournament will likely to be held in the second half of the year. In the 1979 edition, India had finished as runners up. AIFF President Mr. Praful Patel said that the tournament will galvanize the aspiring women players and bring in a holistic social revolution as far as women's football in the country is concerned. The tournament will feature 12 teams, expanded from the previous slot of 8 teams. So earlier there were only 8 teams, but now it has been expanded and now it will include 12 teams. India, of course, qualified directly as host. The new the event will also serve as the final qualification tournament for the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. So the tournament comes as the latest boost to AIFF, as India are slated to host the FIFA Under 17 Women's World Cup next year. India has also hosted the AFC Under 16 Championship in 2016 and the FIFA Under 17 World Cup in 2017. Supreme Court's suo motu cognizance of migrant workers' plight. On May 26, 2020, a three-judge bench of the Supreme Court took suo motu cognizance of migrant workers' issue and noted that there had been inadequacies and certain lapses on the part of the center and state governments in dealing with the migrant workers' crisis during the lockdown. So, what is suo motu cognizance? Suo motu cognizance is a Latin phrase which means on its own. This means that the court has taken the matter into cognizance on its own and without any plaintiff. So, a plaintiff is a person or entity which files a case or petition in the court. Normal court cases need a plaintiff and a defendant, while in suo motu case there is no need of plaintiff. In the current matter, the court has taken suo motu cognizance on the basis of newspaper and media reports on helpless migrants who are forced to travel thousands of miles on foot or cycles. What are the directions of Supreme Court? The three-judge bench of the Supreme Court, headed by Justice Ashok Bhushan, had ordered the center and states to immediately provide transport, food, and shelter free of cost to the stranded migrant workers. The court also asked Solicitor General Tushar Mehta to inform the court by May 28, 2020 about the measures taken by the center to alleviate the migrant sufferings. The court has issued formal notices to the center, state, and UTs to file their responses by May 28. Cabinet approves to form empowered group of secretaries. The cabinet has given its approval for setting up of an empowered group of secretaries EGOS and project development sales PDCS in a ministries or departments of the central government for attracting investment in India. This new mechanism will reinforce India's vision of becoming a $5 trillion economy by 2024 to 2025. It aims to take advantage of these opportunities from the global economic situation, considering the COVID-19 crisis to make India among the largest players in the global value chain, an official said. Now we will see the composition of EGOS. The empowered group of secretaries, EGOS, has the cabinet secretary as the chairperson and secretary, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade as the member convener, secretaries of the Department of Commerce, Department of Revenue, and Department of Economic Affairs and the CEO Niti Ayog are the members of this committee. The secretary of department concerned where investment is coming is to be co-opted in the committee. A project development sale PDC uh, is also approved for the development of investable projects in coordination between the central government and state governments, and thereby grow the pipeline of investable projects in India and in turn increase FDI investment flows. Now we will see Bimal Julka Committee on Rationalization of Film Media Units. On June 2nd, 2020, the Bimal Julka Committee on Rationalization of Film Media operating under this Ministry of Information and Broadcasting submitted its report to the ministry. The committee recommended roadmaps for the development of National Film Development Corporation, Children's Film Society of India, Films Division, Satyajit Ray Film and Television Institute, National Film Archives of India, etc. The committee recommended a MOU to be signed between the ministry and this institute, streamlining the performances of the institutes. The committee has suggested for an umbrella configuration with four broad verticals under which the institute should work. This include festival, production, heritage, and knowledge. The verticals are to be headed by the professionals. Now we will see recommendation. The committee has also recommended for the creation of film promotion funds. The funds will be used to fund independent filmmakers to make commercial films. The committee has suggested measures to improve revenue generations and make institutions financially self-sufficient. Price indices have been suggested to be linked to user charges. Since we have already read the news, now students should check their memory while solving these MCQs. So the first question is, the Urban Learning Internship Program aims to provide internship opportunities to blank. A. Law graduates only. B. Chartered accountants only. C. Management graduates only. And the last one is fresh graduates and engineers. Second question. Blank is the Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs. A. Amit Shah. B. Prakash Javadekar. C. Nitin Gadkari. D. Hardeep Singh Puri. Next question. The interns of TULIP will get rich experience in blank. A. Urban governance. B. Rural governance. C. Urban management. D. Rural management. Now the fourth question is, not more than blank months should have been passed from the date of declaration of final year results to the date from which the internship is sought. Your options are A 12, B 18, C 16, D 14. So this question is related to your TULIP internship program. Fifth question is, blank has been nominated for Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award. A. Rani Rampal, B. Vandana Kataria, C. Monica, D. Harmanpreet Singh. Next, who has been nominated for Arjuna Award? A. Rani Rampal, B. Harmanpreet Singh, C. Jhulan Goswami, D. Anjum Chopra. Seventh question. For the Major Dhyan Chand Award for Lifetime Achievement, the Federation has recommended the name of A. R.P. Singh, B. M.P. Singh, C. Sam Karyappa, D. Ravi Sastry. Next question. Blank, the first Indian to be named as the World Games Athlete of the Year. A. Rani Rampal, B. Harmanpreet Singh, C. Jhulan Goswami, D. Anjum Chopra. Ninth question. Highest sports award is A. Arjuna Award, B. Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award, C. Dronacharya Award, and D. Major Dhyan Chand Award. 10th question. The Essential Commodities Act gives power to the blank to add or to remove a commodity from the schedule. A. Parliament, B. Central government, C. State governments, D. President. Now, 11th question. The latest items added to the schedule of the Essential Commodities Act is A. Face masks, B. Hand wash, C. Face wash, D. Soap. 12th question. Under the amended EC Act, that is Essential Commodities Act, agri-foodstuffs can only be regulated under normal circumstances, B. At the will of the central government, C. Under extraordinary circumstances, and D. On the direction of Prime Minister. Next, the Essential Commodities Act, it was enacted to A. To prevent adulteration of foodstuff, B. Maintain quality of foodstuff, C. To prevent hoarding and black marketing of foodstuffs, D. To reduce the prices of foodstuffs. 14. The largest saffron producing country in the world is A. Iran, B. Afghanistan, C. Spain, D. India. 15. Blank is a name or mark given to products, agriculture, natural and manufactured products, sweets, handicrafts, and industrial goods of a particular region. It may be country or a state or a town. A. Copyright, B. Patent, C. Geographical indication, and D. Industrial design. 16th question. India is expected to be elected as members of United Nations Security Council for blank term. A. 8th term, B. 9th term, C. 10th term, D. 5th term. 17th question. Blank is the Foreign Affairs Minister of India. A. S. Jaishankar, B. Prakash Javadekar, C. Nirmala Sitharaman, D. Rajnath Singh. 18th. Principle of 5S have been given by A. Pandit Nehru, B. Mahatma Gandhi, C. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. And the last option is Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Next question. Blank is one of the priorities of India at this United Nations Security Council, that is UNSC. A. New opportunities for progress. B. New opportunities for development. C. New opportunities for business. And D. New opportunities for growth. Next question. Asian Football Confederation has awarded the hosting rights of the 2022 Women's Asian Cup to A. Bangladesh, B. India, C. China, and D. Japan. 21st question. Blank is the AIFF president. A. Praful Patel. B. Rajiv Sharma. C. Anurag Misra. D. Praful Sharma. Next question. What is the meaning of suo motu? A. On the very face itself. B. From the beginning. C. Friend of the code. D. On its own. Now, next question is blank is the Solicitor General of India. A. Tushar Mehta. B. K. Venugopal. C. Harish Salve. D. Kapil Sibbal. Next question. Empowered group of secretaries, that is EGOS, and project development cells, PDCS, in ministries or departments of the central government will set up to A. To remove red tapeism, to ensure efficient working, C. In order to remove nepotism, D. In order to attract investment in India. And the last question is the Bimal Julka committee was A. On rationalization of film media operating, B. To study child labor in India, C. To prepare a report on unemployment in India, and the last option is to study the industrial growth of the country. Now we will see answer key. So the answer of first question is D, second D, third D, fourth B, fifth A, sixth B, seventh A, eighth A, ninth B, 10th B, 11th A, 12 C, 13 C, 14 A, 15 C, 16 A, 17 A, 18 D, 19 A, 20 B, 21 A, 22 D, 23 A, 24 D, 25th A. I hope that you must have enjoyed today's session and you must have learned something. Now we will end our video here. Thank you for watching and all the best for your examinations.